Good evening. Welcome to this regular scheduled business meeting of the Summersville City Council this 11th day of May in the year 2020. I want to welcome everybody to this meeting. I want to welcome all of our friends and council that are on the conference here. So to get this meeting kicked off, the first thing I'd like to do is turn to our city recorder. Council, I will let you know, and all those that are on the phone, present here in council chambers, myself, the city recorder, Gary, and Councilman Stevie LaRose. With that, Gary, do you care to go ahead and do roll call?
Sure. Wayne Halstead.
Present.
Thank you. Stevie is present in the chamber. Jim Epling.
Present.
Thank you. Mike Stedham.
Present.
Thank you. Brandon Waters.
Present.
Thank you. Eugene Underwood.
Present.
Thank you. Chuck Shaw.
Present.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, you have everybody here.
All right, good deal. Everybody's accounted for. Again, council, welcome. I hope you're all doing well, as we all hope and pray that all of our citizens are doing well through this unprecedented time that we all have come to know all too well as COVID-19 coronavirus. With that said, let's go ahead and, oh wait, do we have anybody else, I'm sorry, do we have anybody else present with us tonight that's called in?
Mike Insulator Chronicle.
Welcome, Mike.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and get started with the agenda. The first item being the consideration of the council minutes of the meeting we held on April 13th, 2020.
Motion approved.
Okay, sound like did I hear, I heard Councilman Halstead, and did I hear Councilman Epling?
No, Underwood.
Underwood, okay, there we go. Halstead and Underwood. Okay, so we have a first and a second. The motion, I presume, was to waive the reading. Council, as you have looked at those minutes that were sent in your packages, are there any changes or amendments to the way those minutes were presented? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. The next item on our agenda tonight is consideration of the council minutes of the reconvened meeting on March 23rd, 2020, held on April 21st, 2020, which was to lay the tax levy. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve and waive the reading.
Do you know who that was?
Second.
All right, who was the second? Chuck, Councilman Shaw. So we had a first from Councilman Halstead, a second from Councilman Shaw. The motion was to to waive the reading. Council, are there any changes or amendments to those minutes the way they were presented in your package? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. Public comment. Mike, do you have any public comment? Mike Insminger, I was saying.
Oh. No, sir. No comment from me.
Okay, well, again, we appreciate the Chronicle being with us. With no public comment, we'll move right on to the next agenda item, which is the discussion of the 2020 or the 2021 City Council grants. Council, the first thing I'd like to inform you is we have had, I personally have fielded several calls relative to people being interested in what the City Council, what we're going to do. I will remind you, City Council, which I know you're all aware of this, but for your purposes and the purposes of folks that will later view this meeting. We brought in about half of the grant applicants who actually did a presentation for us, and then we still have the second half slated, which was actually scheduled and then postponed for some later date. I just kind of want to give you, council, a real quick overview of kind of where we are financially as we are plugging through these times. It's really hard to assess right now what the overall financial impact will be of the city of Summersville. First of all, our taxes are paid, B&O taxes in a lot of instances are paid on a quarterly basis. So we won't know until, of course, we get through this last quarter. I can tell you that there are indications that some of the retail that was allowed to remain open because of the surges that they've had on, shopping. And of course, I think specifically I'm talking about our food suppliers here in the city. I think some of those might be up. But of course, there's a very large sum of our business that has been totally out of business. And then, of course, many other businesses that for some time operated with what we all have come to the understanding has been essential employees. The mayor forgot to turn his phone off, so let me shut this off before it rings again. So I guess what I want to tell you is that I don't think that in the short term we can reasonably assess exactly where we're going to be. The other thing I will tell you, I have been involved in many conversations, been very active with the Municipal League, of which the City of Summersville is a member, participating in many conference calls relative to what the governor's going to do with the $1.2 billion that was received to the state to be divvied up amongst state government, county government, and city government. And even as late as yesterday, we were answering questions or sending questions to be vetted by the governor and his staff relative to some of the out-of-pocket expense and loss of revenue that each individual city and county have the impact to each individual entity. Unfortunately, right now we have no guidance as to how that money is going to be divvied up. I feel real strong that there are expenses that we've incurred as a city that are real relative to actual COVID-19 pandemic expenses. But the real unclear picture is going to be the revenue picture. I will tell you that pretty much on a daily basis, we have seen what I call a significant decrease in pumping of water at the water plant, which ultimately turns into billing, less billing. And of course we're still trudging through this period of time where there is some forgiveness for folks that are not able to pay utility bills. So we definitely, by all indications, I feel that there is a small chance that our larger impact and loss of revenue to the city of Summersville might be on our utilities, even more so than maybe the city when everything lines out. With all that said, I cannot give you any updated figures or percentages to where exactly we're going to stand. So what I was prepared tonight to tell you is that what I would like to do, if you are wanting to move forward with some sense of issuing dollar amounts to some or however you wanted to divide it up to the applicants that we have for our grant process, what I was prepared to do is make a recommendation that we move forward with a sum of $20,000 vice the $6,000 that we had previously budgeted. But certainly what I do now is I open it up for discussion.
Mayor, this is Mike Stedham. I'd like to add a rather short comment here that we're very fortunate to live in a city where we can do this under normal times. I don't think anyone does not understand us not doing it now. So I'm of the opinion if we're giving food or personal items, that's something we want to do, and maybe for the seniors. But some of these grants, I just don't see how we can in good conscience do that. And I realize that puts a lot of pressure on you. I am in favor, and I'm just one person, one vote, but I'm in favor of delaying this whole decision process for 30 days or longer until things start to shake out and we can see what it feels like when we return to work. So that's my thought, but I can also vote on if that's what everybody wants to do.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Anybody else?
Well, I think myself that we ought to maybe vote on those things. Of course, this is Eugene Underwood, and some of these I'm sure they need it. But some of them I'm like Mike here. I don't think some of them really need anything, and I think maybe get 30 days. Do we have time to do that within 30 days?
Yeah.
To hold it off till.
Yeah, so the answer to that question, Gene, is yes. If that would be the wishes to table it for 30 days, we certainly have time. These are council contributions, council grants. Obviously, when we advertise, by this time normally people know what will be available to them on the July 1 date. But certainly there's no time restraints on what you do. And then the other thing I just want to I want to be clear, I was not looking to have a vote tonight on who to give to, because the other thing that we probably have to deal with when you do open the door back up, or if you tell me tonight, what we would have to first do is move to schedule the second group that we haven't heard from yet.
I think this is Jim. I think that's the reasonable thing to do is just put it off for 30 days or so.
But I mean, with that being said, in that 30-day period, do we have these folks call in, have another meeting where we listen to those? Is that what you're thinking, Mayor?
Yeah. So Stevie brings up Councilman LaRose brings up a very good point, and this is my only concern about that second group, bringing them all in. If clearly we are going to look at some reduced sum. I understand that we brought half in, but I don't know that if before you bring somebody in that the funds aren't going to allow for those types of contributions this year. What I would like to do or think about doing is not bringing somebody back in for a presentation that we know before they get here that there's not going to be funds available. So I really like the idea of tabling this all till the first meeting in June. And then even at that meeting, you all can take time and look down through this. I don't know that I'm going to have a better true picture from a financial standpoint, but I do think that if you all feel that there is and even back to some of the comments I've heard already, some of these are social needs. And so even if you got down to, okay, let's think about, some of these items that are true life and safety to the well-being of the people we serve in our community. I'm talking about, bread of life and things like that. Those might be things that we do. But again, it's all your all's decision, but I really like the idea of tabling it for 30 days, and then maybe by then we might have a better idea financially.
This is Jim. I agree. So moved.
I agree.
Okay, So it sounded like Councilman Underwood moved that we table it for 30 days. So actually, we'll just table it until, for rediscussion at the first meeting we have in June, which will be, we're tabling it until June 8th. No, yeah, June 8th. Okay, so we have a first, and was there a second?
Second from Stedham.
Okay, second from Councilman Stedham. Okay, that's a first and a second. Is anybody else out there that hasn't, want to certainly give everybody the opportunity to be heard? Anybody else have anything they want to say? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor,
One thing,
oh, I'm sorry.
I see on there the Nicholas County Fair have canceled, so that's going, right?
Yes, sir. They have canceled. They are not having a fair this year.
Okay.
Okay, so having a first and a second, no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion so carries. We've tabled it till the first meeting in June. Recorder's report.
No report this evening.
Okay, no report. Okay, council, let me just try to give you some updates here on the mayor's report. The first thing I want to talk about in a serious way and highlight is the census, the U.S. Census, the 10-year census that's vitally important to the great state of West Virginia, the county of Nicholas, and certainly the city of Summersville. I can't stress enough the importance of Nicholas Countyans responding to the survey. People need to understand that the federal government divvies up each year $675 billion. And of course, that's done by the statistics of the U.S. Census in population. People need to understand the monies that we get from the federal government supporting our roads, bridges, infrastructures, schools, hospitals, federally qualified healthcare centers, disaster assistance, Head Start, children's health insurance programs, Section 8 housing, SNAP benefits, senior citizens programming, foster care funds, WIC, technology services, low-income energy assistance, and the list goes on and on and on. The census is important. And the other thing that it affects is, by the population, it has a direct reflection on the representation that we get as a state in the U.S. House of Representatives. So I certainly, absolutely encourage everybody to make sure they get counted in this census. As of early May, the county was running below 40% in response. Actually, we were at 39.9 on May 4th. I don't have an update yet. But from a standpoint of making sure that everybody's counted, we got a long ways to go. And I just cannot emphasize enough how important this is, because that's $675 billion that the federal government sends to the state that has a tier effect on how it gets divvied up in the entire state. This census sets how that gets divvied up for the next 10 years. So I can't say enough to our citizenry to please, and Nicholas Countyans, please do your census. The other thing I'd like to highlight, council, is with the West Virginia Governor, Jim Justice, West Virginia Strong, the comeback, finds us actually opening up City Hall today. I want folks to know that means that, yes, we're open to the public. For your standpoint, council, all of our City Hall employees that are dealing directly with the public are behind the glass shields. Frankly, we've even covered the little talk holes up, so somebody can't come to the window and talk through the window. Obviously, they can talk at the window. Also want to strongly encourage anybody that would come to visit City Hall at this point in time, per guidelines issued from the state. We strongly encourage folks that come to visit us to wear masks. I want council just to make you aware that we have been supporting and will continue to support our local businesses as they reach out with us with the challenges that they're having, to get reestablished and, more important than anything, reopen. We have supplied many businesses with assistance, relatively speaking, PPE, the personal protective equipment. And any business out there, I certainly would encourage you, if you have any questions or any issues as to getting reestablished and reopened, please reach out to us here at City Hall, and I even encourage you to reach out to me personally, as you are important to us, and we want to do everything that we can do to help you get your doors safely opened back up. I kind of highlighted on the CARES Act money from the city. Council, I'll keep you updated on that as further information is provided from state government. I also want you to know, Council, in lieu of the fact that here at City Hall we sit right on top of each other, until further notice, I plan to continue to hold our meetings virtually. Of course, we're still waiting on better guidance from the state, the governor's office, relative to groups above 25. So for most standpoints, we still struggle with that because any large crowd group events have been canceled. So unfortunately and reluctantly, I want to announce that I have canceled here at the city the first 2 weeks, June 5th and June 12th, of our pavilion music. Along with, unfortunately, we have to cancel our cruise in, which was a big success last year. And that was our, I like to call it a car cruise in, but we included trucks and motorcycles. That was scheduled for June 20th. And just due to the planning, the entertainment contract, and things that we have to make commitments to, we cannot, because of the crowd that draws. So at this point in time, unfortunately, that will not happen this year either. Council, I also want you to know that we have hired a new city police officer. His name is James Lane. We give him a big welcome to the city of Summersville. James comes with, of course, some honorable veteran service. As a matter of fact, he still is serving in the Navy Reserve as an intelligence officer. So his start date is May 18th. When we're allowed to have, once again, when it's right that we can have meetings in chambers, Council, I plan to bring him before you so you can put a face with a name. Finally, the other thing that I would like to update is the closing has happened on our new partner, operator, and maintenance of the hydro plant, Hull Street Energy, LLC. The component that we're actually going to be working with under Hull Street is Central Rivers Power West Virginia, LLC, which is a company in their companies that will actually be the operator of the Summersville hydro plant. We've been in much dialogue. As a matter of fact, we had a conference call today. Just to give you some quick update, we're looking at getting lined back out the operational reports, getting that lined out that we'll receive them again on a quarterly basis. Those focus on current operation and regulatory compliance, which ultimately the city of Summersville is responsible for. We have, with time, it's told us that there are some things that we would like in the mix. So we're going to get some better update on flows and major projects that have to do with the maintenance of the operation of the hydro plant. The other thing with our previous partner, Enel North American Energy, we got quarterly financial reporting. I'm happy to report that today with Central Rivers we'll get monthly financial reporting. The big thing that we're undertaking is we're revising the independent contract, which as it sits today is a 36-page document, along with a participation agreement, which is another side document of that document that kind of governs and controls the operation. There is so much in that independent contract that's irrelevant to our partnership today. And our partner, NOAA Corporation, Jim Price and I spent some time last week in conference with our attorney, hydro attorney with Jackson and Kelly, Chris Callis, and we worked through it to try to eliminate all aspects of that contract that are irrelevant, the independent contract. We're also doing away with the participation agreement and incorporating everything that's still relevant to today's operation and partnership into the independent contract. If you read the independent contract, a lot of it has to do with our original partnership with Catamount and the construction. Catamount was actually the entity that borrowed the money for construction. I will tell you, in the closing a couple Fridays ago of Enel and Hall Street, the debt has been paid off. There no longer is any debt. So actually the plant, the physical assets and revenue were allowed in the inception of our contract to be leveraged for the contract. We're deleting that ability to be in the contract. Hall Street has also agreed. As you remember, Council, one of the things that we struggled with at the end of our relationship with the Enel is the ROFO, right of first offer. They ignored that was in the contract, that it had to do something with a legal downstream transaction, basically legal wrangling. Hall Street has agreed to give us, as of today, an ironclad ROFO, meaning that if they were ever to decide to get out of the business, the city of Summersville and our partner NOAA would be first at the table. The other thing, as you know, you all authorized us to open up another account here at the city of Summersville, our hydro account. When we get the independent contract completed, it will have all the language that initially the revenues from the monthly transmission or sale to Appalachian Power, or AEP, went to Wilmington Trust, which then was distributed, and that was a requirement of New York Life, who actually financed the project. With all of that gone, there is no reason for us to use a third party to distribute the hydro monies, which it's going to be actually good for the city, because those monies will be available to us monthly instead of quarterly. So all of those pieces are still being worked out, and they will be a part of the independent contract, which, quite frankly, Council, when it's all done, it'll be put before you all for approval. So a lot of moving pieces. It's really exciting right now because there are a lot of great things that our new partner has brought to the table, where Enel was involved in thermo and wind and solar. This component of Hall Street that we're in is strictly hydro. And so they bring a lot to the table, even from the standpoint of knowledge, their ability to work the legislature, which I got an update with you on that. There's a couple other things I want you to know. As many of you know, many years have been worked on trying to get the Corps of Engineers to study the flow, the release of stormwater flow, and also the depth, winter depth of the winter pool of the lake. I will tell you that through Senator Capito's office, we were informed by one of her representatives, Max Hyman. It's exciting. I have even laying before me right now the word bill that's before the legislature now, which we really are getting good signs. This is the Senate. Not state Senate, national Senate. And then of course it's got to go to Congress, but in that bill, in a section of that bill, it especially addresses, specifically, not specially, but specifically addresses non-federal owned power, which is what we are because we have a private partner. It's exciting because it's going to open up the door that at least some of the things that we have asked for many years, now by law will be legal to be examined and studies happen. So anyway, we wait for the actual passage of that legislation, which we're getting really good feedback. It's a part of the big Word of bill. It looks as if that's going to happen. The other thing that I can tell you that's being examined big time, and we are, as many of you may know, an opportunity zone. And with that, it means that people can make investments in the city of Summersville and Nicholas County. Actually, the city specifically, I don't think, I'm trying to remember if the entire county is in the zone, but we are. And with that said, there's been a study underway for a low flow unit to be put in so we can make energy when the flow is lower at the plants that our bigger turbines don't allow us to. So that is well underway. Just a matter of fact is that if that were going to happen, the decision has to be made. Of course, the opportunity zone actually expired last year, but the president extended it one more year, so it's in effect for this entire calendar year. But anyway, our new partner, Hull, is on board, as well as our partner NOAA, Jim Price. And Jim himself is willing to put some serious skin in the game to make this project happen, because he is a private individual, would definitely benefit from his personal investment or his company's investment from a tax standpoint. And that's what the Opportunity Zone's all about, is the credit to folks that would invest in projects, the kind of credits that they get personally, so or their companies would receive. So excitingly today, Hall Street has agreed that they'll do a deep dive right away. They're excited about it too, because technically there is a lot of water that's run off that if we get this low flow unit, we'll be making energy. So one would think immediately, you know, boy, how can we do that? What would it cost the city? As our partner, Jim and I have had many discussions, and he expressed to the CEO of Hull and the folks that we were involved in conversation with today, the idea and concept would be that all the initial revenues from and generated by the low flow unit would all go to pay debt 100% until the debt for the low flow unit was paid off, which that's exciting for us, because when you talk about you know, the city having to go out and at this point in time where we're at, borrow money, it's probably not going to happen, because you know, we've got others that are willing to, that would benefit from it because of Opportunity Zone. And again, what we would have to do is concede that the revenues generated only extra power by that low flow unit would then service the debt. So anyway, great things. As soon as, again, the folks from Hall Street, the CEO, I will tell you, you all remember Beth Harris, who was here with us a couple of times from Enel. She's been hired. The two young men that, or the two gentlemen, two men that are running the hydro plant now, they've been put on and retained with Hall Street. So as soon as we can get face to face with people again, they're going to come in immediately, so we can also, so you all can put faces with the names of the new folks that are key to our partnership at the hydro plant. With that said, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to address. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. All right. Hearing no questions, council, do you have any council reports? Okay. Okay, hearing none. I want to do one more time. I want to just make a round and check to see if anybody joined us. Also, I may have forgot to mention this before. I think it's important. I wanted to get out there via SCTV. With the fact that we're going to stay virtual, I want to re-emphasize that all citizens are permitted, it's posted to join these meetings in conference. If you can't get to City Hall to get the posted information and you want to join a meeting, all you got to do is call to get that information on the phone, and I encourage you to call 304-872-1211. With there being no council reports, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
We have a first from Councilman LaRose and a second from, okay, and who was that?
Councilman Halstead.
Councilman Halstead. So we got a first and second. Council, I want to thank you again. I hope you're all staying safe. Certainly, if you have any further questions relative to anything that I've discussed or haven't discussed, please reach out to me. With that said, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Council, have a good evening. Thank you.